Have you ever looked back on a moment and realized the signs were there the whole time? At first, they're whispers, faint, almost polite. A pause that lasts a little too long. A tone in the voice that doesn't match the words. A smile that never quite reaches the eyes. You tell yourself it's nothing. You move on. But later, when the truth comes crashing in, those whispers become deafening. You replay the moments over and over, like a broken tape in your head. That day they stood a little too close. That night their gaze lingered a little too long. The nervous laugh you brushed off. The way your stomach twisted for no reason you could explain. It's almost cruel, how hindsight works. Because once you've seen what was hiding there all along, you can't unsee it. And that's when you realize, the danger wasn't sudden. It was patient. It was there from the very start, sitting quietly, smiling, waiting for the moment you'd never see coming. Broomfield Township was the kind of place that bragged about never locking its doors. Neighbors waved from porches, kids roamed freely, and the biggest scandal was when someone's dog got into someone else's garden. It was peaceful. Too peaceful, maybe. The kind of quiet that makes you forget the world can be cruel. That lulls you into believing bad things only happen somewhere else, in big cities, on the news, to people you'll never meet. Here, the nights were soft, the mornings slow, and trust was as common as the sunrise. But peace has a way of making people blind. It teaches you to ignore the flicker of unease in your gut, to explain away the things that don't fit. Because in a place like Broomfield, everyone knows everyone. And if evil were here, you'd see it, wouldn't you? The truth is, danger loves a place like this. It hides in plain sight, wearing a familiar face, moving through your world like it belongs. And by the time you realize it doesn't, it's already too late. Rebecca Gay fit right into that picture. 24, warm-hearted, and a mother to a little boy whose laugh could melt ice. She had that rare kind of presence, the kind that made you slow down, lean in, and feel lighter just by being around her. People said when Rebecca looked at you, it wasn't a glance, it was a moment. She made you feel seen, like you mattered. But life doesn't always play fair. Sometimes it draws a perfect scene, sunlight through the curtains, a child's laughter in the background, and then, just out of frame, it sets the shadows. You can't see them yet, but they're there. That's the cruelty of it, really. Danger doesn't always announce itself with snarls and footsteps in the dark. Sometimes it stands close enough to shake your hand. Sometimes it smiles back at you across the dinner table. And sometimes, it wears the face of someone you think you can trust. Danger, like John D. White. He wasn't just some man, he was her mother's fiancé. The kind of man who carried a Bible under his arm, who spoke softly when he prayed, who could make you believe he had the ear of God himself. A minister at Christ Community Fellowship, always quick with a handshake, always ready with a "God bless you." The sort of man who could walk into any home in Broomfield Township and be welcomed without question. But there's a thing about wolves, brother, they don't bare their teeth until they're ready to bite. Until then, they blend in. They learn your habits, your weaknesses, the way you trust without thinking. They watch. They wait. And all the while, you never notice the hunger in their eyes. People looked at John White and saw a man of faith. What they didn't see were the scars he'd left behind in other towns, on other lives. His past wasn't a rumor, it was a record written in violence and blood. But records can be buried. Smiles can be rehearsed. And in a place like this, where trust was as natural as breathing, no one thought to look behind the curtain. Because before the collar and the sermons, White had a past. It wasn't the kind of past you keep in a photo album or share over coffee. It was the kind that left scars on other people's lives, scars that never faded. 1981, a teenage girl choked and stabbed. She survived, but barely. 1994, a woman in Kalamazoo County didn't. Her life ended, and White walked away with a manslaughter conviction. Almost 12 years in prison. 12 years to think. 12 years to plan. And when the gates opened in 2007, he stepped back into the world, smiling like he'd left his demons behind. The thing is, demons don't stay behind. They travel light. His record wasn't hidden, it was there for anyone to see. But in a town like Broomfield, people don't go digging for darkness. They look at the face in front of them and choose the story that feels safe. And safety, real or imagined, is a dangerous thing to cling to. Because when you decide to see only what you want, you never notice the knife until it's already at your throat. And in October 2012, the air felt different. Maybe it was just the season, that strange pull Halloween has, mixing excitement with something you can't quite name. The pumpkins on porches, the rustle of dry leaves, the way the wind seemed to carry whispers if you listen too long. But sometimes, the unease isn't from the season at all. Sometimes, it's from the way a shadow moves when you're not looking. Maybe, somewhere deep down, Rebecca felt it too, that shift in the air when he was near. The way his eyes didn't just look at her, they measured her. The way his presence filled a room, not with warmth, but with something heavier, something that seemed to press in, even when he said nothing at all. Little moments. A glance that lasted a beat too long. A smile that didn't feel like it belonged to the words it carried. Alone, they were nothing. Together, they were a warning. But warnings don't glow red or scream for attention. They hide in plain sight, and by the time you recognize them for what they are, it's only because the storm has already started. 2 weeks before Halloween, White began thinking. Not about candy. Not about costumes. Not about the way the town lit up with orange and yellow every October. No, his thoughts had a different color entirely. Dark. Sour. Heavy. They weren't just wrong, they were rotten, the kind of thoughts that fester in the corners of a man's mind until they start to feel like needs. And once you feed a thought like that, it grows. It doesn't matter how much you pray, how many sermons you preach, or how many people think you're a good man, a thought like that keeps eating, keeps whispering, keeps pushing you toward the point of no return. White didn't fight it. He fed it. And beer was the grease on the gears, loosening whatever fragile knots of restraint he still had left. By the morning of October 31st, the man people thought they knew was gone. What was left, was just the wolf. He knocked. She answered, maybe still half asleep, maybe with that soft morning smile she gave to people she trusted. Her son was there too, tiny and curious, the kind of innocent that believes every knock at the door means something good. But the good didn't come that morning. By the time the sun was fully up, she was gone. There was no shouting, no warning, no one to run to. Just a flash of violence, a mallet, heavy and final. A zip tie, cold and unyielding. And then, silence. The kind of silence that doesn't just fill a room, but swallows it whole. When he was done, the woods took her. Leaves rustling above, dirt giving way beneath. Nature has a way of hiding what it's given, but even the earth must have recoiled at what it was being asked to keep. And back at the house, the little boy's day was just beginning. And here's the thing that'll freeze your blood. When it was over, when the life had already drained from her, he didn't run. He didn't panic. Instead, he went back inside like it was any other morning. He found her little boy, still blissfully unaware, and dressed him in his Halloween costume. Fixed the buttons. Smoothed the fabric. Even smiled at him, the same smile he'd probably given dozens of times before. Then he drove him to his father, handing him over with the calm of a man returning a borrowed book. But the performance wasn't done. No, White had one more act. Later that day, he stood shoulder to shoulder with neighbors, with friends, even with her family. His head bowed, his lips moving in prayer, asking God to bring Rebecca home, knowing full well she would never walk through her front door again. It wasn't just cruelty. It was theater. And in that moment, he wasn't just hiding the truth, he was spitting in the face of it. It didn't take long for the truth to crack through his mask. At first, he played the part, the grieving would-be-in-law, the man of God mourning alongside the community. But masks aren't made to last forever. The crack started small, an inconsistency here, a slip there, until the whole thing split wide open. By March 2013, he confessed. No drama, no drawn-out courtroom twists. Just the blunt, ugly truth spilling out. On April 18, the judge sealed his fate, 56 to 85 years in prison. A sentence, yes. A cell, yes. But punishment? That's a different question entirely. Because no matter how many decades he rots behind bars, it won't rewind the clock. It won't undo the years he spent building toward that one night, the night he finally let the wolf off the leash. Rebecca's son will grow up never remembering the warning signs, but they were there. We all missed them. Or maybe, we ignored them. That's the cruelest part about evil, it doesn't crash into your life like a storm. It doesn't pound at the door demanding entry. No, it walks in slowly, smiling, polite enough to be invited inside. And by the time you realize what it is, it's already sitting at your table. If you think you could spot the danger before it strikes, think again. We tell the stories that prove evil hides in plain sight. Subscribe now, because the next story might be closer to home than you think.